Claire, you want to be referred to as Ms., Mrs., or Claire, or?
Well, I guess I don't really care.
I'm going to announce you as I don't really care.
Ms. is fine.
We old folks are literal.
Mrs. sounds, I haven't changed my last name, so.
Test. It's 5:30 p.m., and I'll call to order the regular meeting for the Middletown City Board of Zoning Appeals, Wednesday, October the 2nd. Call the roll.
Gary Gross,
Here.
Jim Hall,
Here.
Todd Moore, Christopher Ambergy,
Present.
Jerry Heidenreich, David Cash,
Here.
Stefan Wanamaker.
Here. Join me in a pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First item tonight is a public hearing on area and dimensional variance case number 14-24. A request by applicant Jennifer Rydell on behalf of property owner Latasha Evans for an area and dimensional variance for the property at 5325 Donatello Drive to construct a new deck. The property is zoned R2, Low Density Residential District. The variance requested is to allow for an attached deck to reduce the rear yard setback by 12 feet and increase the projection into the rear yard by 19 feet. Ms. Fetters?
Oh, you need to be sworn, don't you?
Yes.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
So in the staff analysis, the purpose of the R2 low-density residential district is to provide for low-density, single-family residential uses in a more urban setting than the R1 district, in which are served completely by public infrastructure adequate for the applicable density of development. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 12061, Accessory Uses and Structures, Part B, an accessory. Do you guys want me to read all that?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Gotta back up. You read my part. So essentially the deck is proposed to be a pardon my scrolling here. Okay, I don't have that in there. Hang on. All right, a 29 by 22 composite deck. The Middletown Development Code only allows a 10-foot extension if it's an attached deck from the principal structure, and then with the development in, or what was passed by Planning Commission, the setback is I'm sorry, I'm all confused.
Setback 12 feet. She wants to reduce it to
By 12 feet.
Yeah,
by 12 feet. Thank you.
yes. So the setback is going to be, it's originally 45 feet permitted, so up to 45 feet of setback from principal structure to the rear property line. So with the 45 setback, 45-foot setback requirement, the 33 feet from the deck, there's going to be a 12-foot variance. And then the deck extending out 29 feet, or is it 22 feet? I'm sorry.
So it's 45 foot from the back of the property line to the setback limit?
Yes,
45 foot? And so they're
Yes.
requesting a 12-foot variance to get into that setback?
yes.
And then, is the 29 foot, is that relevant? Is the width relevant? Is that cutting into a side setback, or is that just a dimension?
I don't think so. I think the issue is if you look at this photograph, the 10 feet,
Yeah, I'm sorry, an attached deck to the principal structure can only be 10 feet coming off the back of the house. I think where I just got confused was I might have skewed the dimensions of the deck, so it might just be a 12-foot projection into the rear yard rather than 19. Sorry about that.
anything else?
What we're looking at here, is that your drafting of the proposed deck with dimensions to the rear and side, or is that the applicant's?
That's the applicant's.
Well, how big of I thought this deck was going to be something like, oh, shoot. Deck much larger than a 10-foot setback from the house and,
What's demonstrated is a side, actually. It's not from the rear.
Okay.
In their certificate of zoning compliance application in your staff packet, it is proposed to be a 29 by 22 composite deck with aluminum rails.
So it would come out from the house 29 feet?
I think that
because that surely isn't 29, that's 10 feet.
based on that drawing, I am assuming the width is 29, coming out 22 feet. I did not get clarification on that prior to this.
22 feet extending from the back of the house,
That's what
29 feet
that is what
across,
I am interpreting the drawing to look
and
like.
29 feet across the
Yes.
width, the
Yes.
rear elevation.
I think I got more questions for the
Okay.
applicant.
Yeah, I think so too.
Any other questions?
Well, I do. I'm sorry. I see that this property abuts non-residence or Renaissance residential community property. Is that farmland back there?
I believe so.
And maybe the applicant, she's shaking her head, so I think we can, or nodding her head, so I think we'll, okay. The city has not received any comments from,
No comments have been received to date, and all contiguous and directly across the street property owners were mailed notice of this.
and
There are no further
Not-
questions. I'm going to open the public hearing.
I have one more, I'm sorry, Chris, I have one more. Notwithstanding the fact that precedent here is not how we rule upon these types of matters, these applications, but I know we've approved several decks in Renaissance residential community. Are there any I think, in fact, Boy, Donatello sure rings a bell to me. Are there any there on Donatello that are on the, I'm assuming it's the south side of Donatello?
I believe one of the next door neighbors actually had a deck approved in February by the BZA.
Okay, okay. That's all I have, thanks.
Thank you. Sorry about that hiccup.
Are there any more questions? No. Okay, if not, I'll call the public hearing, open the public hearing, and ask anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this application to come forward, please. Anyone in favor and wishes to speak, come forward.
Right to the dais there, sir. And if you'll raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. And identify yourself, if you would.
Yes, my name is Cornelius Evans.
Okay.
And your address?
My address is 5325 Donatello Drive.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Was that Cornelius?
Cornelius, just like in the Bible.
You have the floor, sir.
So yes, I'm actually just coming up to say that me and my wife, we're just seeking to add a deck to our house. And again, you are correct, it does come out 22 feet, and so it will be 12 feet of variance, and it's actually 29 feet wide. And I'm seeking to answer any additional questions that you may have. Yes, sir.
If I remember right, does the backyard go down a steep slope?
No, sir, I don't have a steep slope in my backyard.
It's a different one.
So the houses across the street from me, they do have the elevated slope in the backyard.
Sir, your width of 29 feet, that is in line with the side edge of the home and everything?
Yes, sir, it is.
Was this your drawing?
No, sir, actually, it's my builder's drawing. Okay. Yes, and she's actually here with me as well.
Are there any other questions? Not your excuse, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Please come forward.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Identify yourself.
I'm Jennifer Riddle. I'm the owner of Building Character, and we're going to be the one to actually build their deck. And I'm actually the one that filed for the variance for the neighbor as well. The reason why we have, from what we learned, is they built these nice, big, beautiful houses on a very small lot. So people are trying to, especially with the farmland back there, so people are trying to make living spaces back there with very limited space. So, but it's elevated. It will have stone underneath for flow because it does have the zoning line back there, I think is what it is, the R2 zoning line with the easement. There you go, there's the word I'm looking for. So it has a zoning easement back there, but we left it open for flow, the stone for the water flow if there's any. So I think it'd be pretty good. Do you guys have any questions for me, like on structural or anything?
Gentlemen?
Good. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to come forward and speak in favor of this application? Seeing none, I'll ask, is there anyone here wishing to come forward and speak against this application? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Ambergy, can I ask Ms. Fetters a question, please?
I'm sure you can.
Thank you. Has Planning Commission or has council considered, I don't know if this is a rezoning, but revisiting these rear setbacks and side setbacks, considering, again, precedent isn't our guiding light, but considering the fact that we've had several of these residents coming before us with applications, and they're all approved. I know their uniqueness in some way, shape, or form. This lot does narrow down, but not like a cul-de-sac. So I'm just wondering, is council consider reviewing this or revisiting it?
Not to date, but I have no issue bringing it up.
Well, it just would seem that it's going to be a very common occurrence, because they're still building homes out there, and so it's going to be a common occurrence, I think. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I have long agreed with that premise that periodically they do update whatever they feel they need to update. I will say that, however, that I watched the council meeting as they analyzed the budget, and this was one of the points brought up, the cost involved in doing that very thing. So I'm not looking for them to do it as frequently as we might wish. Are there any other questions, comments?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask Ms. Riddell a question again. I'm sorry. It just dawned on me. So in the photo up there, the white in the middle of your deck drawing, is that an existing deck?
It's an existing concrete pad.
How big is that?
I think that was only approximately like maybe a 10 by 10, 10 by 12. It wasn't very big. So our footers, once we do our footers, we're gonna have to actually cut through the concrete. They're gonna leave it there for a weed barrier, and then around it will be that stone that I talked about. So, but it wasn't very big. It looks kind of big on the picture, but it's not that big.
12-foot parallel with the house and 10-foot extension out.
I think it's like a 12 by 10. So it'd be like 12 against the house, 10 coming out. I think that's what it is. It's been a while since I've been to the property, so not.
I'm trying to scale this in this here because what you've got drawn here in the picture is not the scale. So what you're saying, it'll be twice as wide as the concrete patio?
I'd have to look in my paper. I can go up there and look. I got
No, that's okay.
just to be sure, because I did mark it down.
So it'll be 12 foot out from the end of the patio, more or less. Yes?
Yep.
Okay, that's all I got. I was just trying to wrap my head around the scale of the drawing.
Since we called you back, I'll ask one question. The 10-foot that I'm seeing to the property line, is that an absolute? Is that an absolute? Is it 10 feet? Is it going to be 10 feet?
Off the side?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 10 feet off the side.
Okay.
'Cause we actually, it is level with the house, but we actually notched it right behind the gutters, so we didn't have to remove them. So it's like maybe 4 inches inward, just a little bit.
Okay.
So it is going to reach to 10, yeah.
But 10 feet from the property line? Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Anything else while she's here? Okay, thank you very much. Public hearing's closed. Do we have any conversation, discussion, question among ourselves? Or is there a motion to be entertained?
Tend to agree with Mr. Cash that this is going to be an ongoing occurrence. I don't know if there's anything we can do to change the R2 district, but at least we all know what we're up against. But unless there's any other discussion, I would like to move to approve this variance, and I would cite the review criteria of A1, which is that there are special conditions with the lot, specifically the shallowness of it, that make it requiring to get a variance for a deck.
Okay. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gross?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes?
Do I call Mr. Moore if he's not here?
No.
No.
Mr. Ambergy?
Yes.
Mr. Cash?
Yes.
Mr. Wanamaker?
Yes.
Motion is passed. Application is passed.
Yes.
Okay. Next item this evening is a public hearing, appeal case number 15-24, a request by applicant Lakeisha Thomas for an appeal of the denial of the applicant's zoning permit to use the property at 1342 Central Avenue as a youth behavioral health and human services facility. The property is located in the city's UCC Urban Core Central Zoning District. The applicant was denied a certificate of zoning compliance on July 19, 2024.
The applicant has appealed the denial of the certificate of zoning compliance by the Development Code Administrator. Applicant asserts denial as an impersonal medical clinic or office is not proper because of the nonprofit organization provides services as an after-school program that focuses on behavioral, at-risk, and IEP youth and does not provide any medical services, just use services, no-cost basic living support, and free products to low-income residents. So the purpose of the UCC Urban Core Central Zoning District is to encourage, support, and enhance downtown Middletown as a mixed-use, high-intensity urban district and a center of retail, service, entertainment, office, and government and urban residents. The UCC subdistrict encourages pedestrian-oriented retail or eating, drinking, and entertainment establishments on the ground floor and residential on the upper floors of buildings, but also allows service, office, institutional, and recreational uses. Per the Middletown Development Code, medical or dental clinics and offices and 24-hour urgent care use types are prohibited in the UCC district. Medical or dental clinics, offices, and 24-hour urgent care are defined in Chapter 1230 of the Middletown Development Code as office or clinic uses concerned with the diagnosis, treatment, and care of human beings related to medicine or dental. This term shall also include the operation of an urgent care clinic that may be open for 24 hours, and that is meant to accommodate non-emergency medical situations. This definition does not include hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, or personal care facilities. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 12048, permitted principal uses, fraternal, charitable, and service-oriented clubs are a conditional use in the UCC zoning district. A conditional use may be permitted if approved by Planning Commission through the conditional use review procedure. Fraternal, charitable, and service-oriented clubs are defined in Chapter 1230 of the Middletown Development Code as a building or portion thereof or premises owned or operated by a corporation, association, or group of persons for a social, educational, religious, or recreational purpose, but not primarily for profit or to render service, which is customarily carried on as a business. Per the Middletown Development Code, legal notice is required for appeal requests, and meeting notice letters for the appeal requests were sent to all property owners contiguous and directly across the street or public right-of-way of the subject property. No comments have been received at this time.
Okay. It is usual and customary that we read the following. Any person or entity claiming to be injured or aggrieved by any final action of the Board of Zoning Appeals has the right to appeal the decision of the Court of Common Pleas as provided in the Ohio Revised Code, Chapters 2505 and 2506. And in the future, you can read that for us, please. Okay. First of all, do you have any questions?
I do.
Staff?
I do. You're much more familiar with uses, permissible uses in the city, in the code. What 2 or 3 word description would describe what the applicant, Ms. Thomas, has said that this this operation will be, because it's a nonprofit providing services as an after-school program that focuses on behavioral, at-risk, and IEP youth, and does not provide any medical services, just youth services, no-cost basic living support, and free products to low-income residents. You know, as other uses are defined, such as medical, where is the definition of the medical? A medical facility has a description. Here's a description. Does the city have a defined use that would fit this description?
So when I was looking at the appeal submittal, there was a revision in the description of business that was going to be taking place there, or description of use. In your staff packets, I included the original certificate of zoning compliance application. And there, I think, well, I know why the application was denied, because
It was considered a medical or dental clinic.
well, yes, with the tutoring, or not tutoring, I'm sorry, therapy inclusion in the description of project.
Well, I guess my concern is if, in fact, this doesn't fall within the description or definition of a medical clinic or office, where does it fall?
So when I was looking at in the appeal application, that's why I put the
I mean,
fraternal,
yeah, the clubs are fraternal organizations, I
Charitable,
understand. But
yeah.
those are completely, those have a common purpose. This is an entity, this is a facility that's going to provide, for want of a better term, latchkey services. Looks like there's some behavioral, and I will ask the applicant when she gets up here too, but behavioral, now we get into the behavioral issues, and I'm not sure, well, again, the applicant. I just didn't know if the city had a specific defined use that fit this description, this definition or description she's provided.
to the best of my knowledge at this date, 5 weeks in, no. But
All right.
again, 5 weeks in, still learning the code and having new questions every day.
That's fine.
I think to my reading of the application, what stood out in my mind was the after-school program.
Well, obviously, Ms. Thomas is going to be able to fill us in on that, hopefully. Yeah.
Relative to the code, relative to the zoning district that they're requesting to put it in. That's what jumped out at me. Any other question or comments before I open the public hearing? Okay, seeing none, I'll open the public hearing now. Anyone present who'd like to come forward and speak in favor of this application, do so now.
Ma'am, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And if you'll identify yourself, please.
Yes, my name is Lakeisha Thomas. I am the founder of the nonprofit Keep Better Day Society.
Your address, please?
My home address or the business address?
Whichever.
1342 Central Avenue is the business address.
You have the floor, ma'am. Welcome.
I'm sorry?
You have the floor. Welcome.
Okay. So I just wanted to appeal this decision because I wanted the zoning board to know that we are not doing any medical services. As I mentioned, it is actually, when I mentioned counseling and therapeutic, we're actually trying to get the kids that have behavioral issues help from other sources in Middletown, like counseling, therapies, whatever the case may be. So that is where that came into play, but we're just basically providing after-school service programming to the kids here in Middletown, especially our low-income clients that we work with previously. Parents are needing help with that programming for the kids, like I said, homework help, tutoring, things like that, a safe place for them to go after school here in Middletown, because there's not a lot of things to do, especially for the low-income kids here in Middletown. So we're trying to do stuff like that with them, take them on field trips, things like that. That's pretty much what we're doing. And also helping them with basic living assistance. We do have a mobile free store where we are partnered with Walmart, Amazon, and we are connecting them with basic living assistance, like clothing, shoes, stuff like that.
Any questions?
I do. Ma'am, you've opened up a whole breadth of questions for me. Are you you're a nonprofit, so you're a 501(c)(3) or?
We are a
501(c)(3)?
501c3, but we are actually getting ready to do some certifications, like we gotta
Well,
do
that's-
something. I know my assistant was telling me that, but yes, we are registered as a 501c3.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
Does the state, since you got kids, I mean, daycares are required to be certified by the state of Ohio.
Well, it's not daycare.
Well, I know, but
Yeah.
you're assembling kids.
Yes.
You're assembling kids that not only you'll have numbers, what number do you anticipate limiting the
We probably
participation?
try about like 10, because we don't have a big space, like maybe 10 at the most, 10
So,
kids.
and what age range?
Anywhere from like 5 years old to about 13 or 14.
Okay, so now you get into the 13 and the 14 age range where behavioral issues can become a little more volatile
Yes.
for you. Do you have a staff that's going to be working in this?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Do you, what?
And all the kids are not,
Well, I know that.
you know.
It only takes one.
yeah,
It only
right.
takes one that has a manic episode, and the next thing you know, you've got serious problems.
Absolutely.
Does the state require you to carry liability insurance
sir.
in there? Have you already been certified by the state of Ohio?
Yes, sir. We have some trainings and stuff like, for
Well, I know-
behavioral kids and
What,
stuff like that.
what department of the state government issues your certification?
Well, we went through the Red Cross. We got CPR with Red Cross.
Well, I know that,
and-
but the state of Ohio,
Yes.
a barber has to be certified by the Department of Commerce. What department
I
in
mean,
the
like
state
to
of
work
Ohio?
with kids, like just to work with
What department?
kids.
Are you receiving funding from any state or
No, sir.
federal?
No, sir.
How do you fund yourself?
We're just trying to work with kids. Well, our overall funding comes from like grants, and we do give away like free phones. We do have funding from that source, and we also do Spectrum as well too, like internet services.
Somebody has to pay for all that. How are you getting it paid?
They pay, that's what I'm saying, we do get funding from there. Yeah,
Say again, please.
we get funding from
Okay.
our Spectrum as well as our free phone campaigns, and we do get grants as well too. We're allowed to get grants, we do get grants.
Thank you.
And like I said, we do have a mobile free store program that we do, and our memberships actually reinvest into our programs back into what we do. So we're a partner with like Walmart, Amazon. We do memberships for the community, and that fund does recirculate back into our, for us to keep our business, our nonprofit going. So it's just like regenerating back into our programs.
Will you be vetting these children, these 5-year-olds up to 13 or 14?
Will I be
Are you
vetting them, like
them?
far as seeing, like far as their behaviors? Well, right now, we're just trying to work with the parents. Like if the parent is saying they're having problems with them, nothing on a medical line or nothing, just like if they're getting in trouble at school, like I said, like IEP is a big thing with a lot of parents, and this is like kids that are not necessarily behavioral, but more like mentally, I don't know how to put this, like developmentally delayed, like more along that lines, more or less than behavior, but I know that's like side-by-side behavioral and developmental is like next.
Do you have a psychiatrist or psychologist
No,
that's
we're
on
not
call?
trying to get into any of that. That's what I'm saying. We're just trying to just work with these kids, like just after-school programming, and then like if they do have issues like you're saying, we want to refer them to places like Access Counseling, places that can take these kids that have those issues. We're not saying we're counseling them. We're not providing any medical. We're just having a place for them to come after school, homework, stuff like that, just getting that kind of assistance. Definitely helping the parents out with,
Here's,
the kids being bored, not having nothing to do.
you can understand what a concern might be, particularly where you're located, because you're just on the boundary of the retail or the retail district of the city of Middletown. Do you know where Access Middletown is on Central Avenue?
Yes, I do.
It's right down from Family Dollar.
Yes, and I have talked to them, yeah.
And those are adults, but the lingering out next to the front door and the smoking and whatever else is going on out there, you can see probably might be somewhat of a deterrent to others that might want to use any of the businesses that are adjacent to you.
Yes, yes.
Are you gonna lock them in?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Might be a problem, but are you gonna lock them in?
Yeah, I was talking to the parents about, just trying to see about what options we got. Because I know it is a thing here in Middletown where, like, they got after-school programs like the Dream Center, stuff like that, where they're not medical or, like the center. And I've been hearing that they don't have space for those kids. And so the clients that I'm seeing, they need that support. So that's what we're trying to do, basically the same thing. We're just trying to provide kids a safe place to stay, after school.
Well, I appreciate your discussion, folks, and the chair's gonna reclaim his time. Questions are good, answers are good. Service needed.
Absolutely.
What we're here for tonight is to determine whether or not this can be placed in this zone by our code. That's all we're here. We're not here
Right.
to judge anybody so I want to focus on that.
Okay.
Are there any questions relative to that? Relative to the zoning?
I'd like to hear from council.
Thank you. The review tonight is really very narrow. It's the appeal of the staff determination that this was a medical or dental use, correct? So we are really just within the confines, not necessarily as to whether or not what this use is and whether it's permitted in the UCC, but whether or not this was a medical or dental use.
Say that louder.
Okay. So this is an appeal of the staff determination that the applicant's use is a medical or dental use. She has appealed that determination to make the case to the five of you that this is not a medical use. That is strictly what we're looking at tonight, is the appeal of that staff member's determination as to whether this should be considered a medical or dental clinic or office under the code, the definition in the code, which I'm happy to read to you if you like. But the review criteria for you to apply to this tonight is to whether that decision that this is a medical or dental clinic or use does not comply with the substantive requirements of the code. So you're just really narrowly looking at whether or not this is a medical or dental use. So for example, if the board tonight determines that it is not a medical or dental use, that's from a zoning perspective, not the end of the road for her, because then she's going to be back with staff figuring out what use this is, how to move forward, whether it can move forward in this location under a different use determination. But for tonight, we're really just reviewing that appeal of this as a medical or dental clinic.
Does everybody understand that? Because I don't, and I'm not ashamed to say it. You're asking me to determine if it's a medical organization or not, and correlate that to the code, to the code and the UCC
So BZA has,
allowances.
sure. So from a bigger picture, BZA has several roles, right? One of the roles that you have is ruling on variances, determining whether someone should have a variance. It's what you did on your first case tonight. Another role that you have is as an appeals board to staff. So when applicants come in and work with staff in the city and staff says X, Y, and Z, that's my decision and it's final, it doesn't have to be final for the applicant because they can come to you and make their argument, which is what's happening tonight. Staff, I don't believe it was Claire, I think it was someone else on staff. Staff's determination was they saw the word, it's my understanding, they saw the word therapy, and they said this is a medical or dental clinic. That's my final answer, that's it, determination made. And then the code gives the applicant the ability to say, well, I disagree, so let's go talk to the BZA and see what they have to say about it. Which is why when you look under these, and it's a pretty nuanced thing when a BZA does this, hearing an appeal of staff. It's unique. It's not where you normally spend most of your time.
Answer my question.
It really isn't. Like, this is an unusual thing to do, yes. And it takes the applicant understanding that they can take this step, right, and come before the board to make their case. So tonight, she has been told by city staff this is a medical or dental use, therefore not allowed at all in the UCC. And then is coming to you to say, I disagree, what I'm proposing doesn't meet the definition of a medical or dental use. And I'm butchering those words, so I would like to give you the exact definition. It's in your packet. That medical or dental clinic/office is defined as office or clinic uses concerned with the diagnosis, treatment, and care of human beings related to medicine or dental. So that's where, I think that's where the crux of everything is tonight. Strictly not for you to decide whether her use should exist at this location, but whether her use is a medical or dental clinic.
Okay, counsel, here's where I come from. I've been doing this a number of years, both on Planning Commission historically and now again, and on this one. Essentially, what we're usually doing is defending the code. And if I hear you properly, that's not what we're really doing here tonight. We're not defending the code.
You are sitting as a judicial board, quasi-judicial board, determining whether or not staff's determination was to the letter of the code, whether or not, in your estimation, her proposed use meets that definition of medical or dental clinic.
Which is not what it is. That's not what it is.
I have one question.
I appealed it.
I was listening, but as soon as I heard the word therapy, is that where the
reason I
zoning-
brought up, sure, the reason.
That word therapy is where this hinges?
I brought that up only because I heard Claire say that when somebody had asked how we got to this point, and I think she said in the application that city staff saw.
The word, because I said that we were going to get them therapy and counseling. But that was like refer them to therapy and counseling. I think that's what the word was, like referring to therapy and counseling. Like if the parent thought they needed it, we could refer them. And, I was trying to partnership with some people, places here in Middletown to do that. And that's where that came in at.
Basically, what you're saying is, I am not doing any kind of therapy or anything in that location.
Absolutely.
I'm just referring them to go somewhere else.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And other services too, because most of the time nonprofits do that. We refer in partnership with people, and that's basically what this was, just getting other people, referrals and keeping them
Okay.
in our network here in Middletown.
And one of you hit on, I can't remember which of you, one of you hit on a unique part of this whole process as well, which is to say, if this isn't medical or dental use, what is it, right? I think these were your questions. Look at the table and tell us what it is. And that is the role of staff. That is, it's written into our code that if a use isn't clearly, if someone comes to you to open a fast food restaurant, right, staff obviously knows exactly where to look in the code and where that's defined. But for something where it's a little bit more of a gray area and it isn't strictly clear, then it does fall to staff to make that determination and to find the most similarly or substantially similar use and say, okay, this is what it is, this is my determination, which is what's happened here. The applicant just took, like I said, took the appeal to you to make the case.
Well, then I want to hear the whole thing read again, starting with staff analysis. Very slowly, and I want everybody to listen very carefully.
All right. The applicant has appealed the denial of the certificate of zoning compliance by the Development Code Administrator. Applicant asserts denial as an impersonal medical clinic or office is not proper because the nonprofit organization provides services as an after-school program that focuses on behavioral, at-risk, and IEP youth and does not provide any medical services, just youth services, no cost basic living support and free products to low-income residents. The purpose of the UCC Urban Core Central Zoning District is to encourage, support, and enhance downtown Middletown as a mixed-use, high-intensity urban district and a center of retail, service, entertainment, office, government, and urban residents. The UCC subdistrict encourages pedestrian-oriented retail or eating, drinking, and entertainment establishments on the ground floor and residential on the upper floors of buildings, but also allows service, office, institutional, and recreational uses. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 12048, permitted principal uses, medical or dental clinics, offices, and 24-hour urgent care use types are prohibited in the UCC district. Medical or dental clinics, offices, and 24-hour urgent care are defined in Chapter 1230 of the Middletown Development Code as office or clinic uses concerned with the diagnosis, treatment, and care of human beings related to medicine or dental. This term shall also include the operation of an urgent care clinic that may be open for 24 hours, and that is meant to accommodate non-emergency medical situations. This definition does not include hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, or personal care facilities. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 12048, permitted principal uses, fraternal, charitable, and service-oriented clubs are a conditional use in the UCC zoning district. A conditional use may be permitted if approved by the Planning Commission through the conditional use review procedure. Fraternal, charitable, and service-oriented clubs are defined in Chapter 1230 of the Middletown Development Code as a building or portion thereof or premises owned or operated by a corporation, association, or group of persons for a social, educational, religious, or recreational purpose, but not primarily for profit or to render a service, which is customarily carried on as a business.
That's fine. I've read the last paragraph. Okay. So from my mind, I'm covered on the last paragraph you read. I'm covered on the medical, dental clinics, et cetera, et cetera. The UCC subdistrict encourages pedestrian-oriented retail or eating, drinking, and entertainment establishments on the ground floor and residential on upper floors of buildings, but also allows service, office, institutional, and recreational uses. Counselor, they haven't done the city any favor writing this the way they've written it.
Seeing as how this was likely written by an attorney, I'll make no comment on that. I mean, it's a very broad description, but you're not, so the idea of the intent of the urban core central zoning district, again, is peripherally relevant, but the focus of what you're looking at is whether or not that definition of medical and dental clinic is applicable to this use.
So if we choose to make a motion and I say I'm looking for a motion that says this is not medical and that we refer her back to staff,
So the motion.
we have done our duty.
Yes, because it's a motion, because it's an appeal of staff's determination, I would recommend the motion being something along the lines of a motion to overturn the determination of staff, as this is not a medical or dental use, if that's the will of the board for the motion to be made. Because you're really, this is up on appeal, so you'd be looking to overturn the determination of staff.
Discussion?
Did we ever close the public hearing?
Sir?
We didn't close the public hearing, did we?
Yes, we have.
No?
No.
Oh, no, not this one. I'm sorry, the
Yeah.
previous one.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. Thank you.
So,
Your question.
let's say a facility like Access Counseling wanted to go into UCC, would they be allowed?
I am not familiar with that organization.
Okay. Okay, let's
I'm
just,
sorry.
and let's take psychiatrists out, the medical part. If a group of therapists would want to open up a business in this building, would they be allowed? I mean, that's where you're touching on is medical dental, but where's that line at? Therapists, they diagnose and treat, but is it medical?
I would need to read actually the definition for personal care facilities before I answered that. But just like as I was reading it, I need to see how the code defines personal care facilities.
Okay, now my question for Ms. Thomas.
Yeah.
Will you have therapists and doctors on staff there?
No, we don't have any of that kind of.
Will you diagnose or treat any illnesses?
No, never.
Let me extend that question. Will you do it in the future?
No, never. We're not looking to.
Absolutely not.
No,
Okay, thank you.
nope.
Now, for my purpose, the reason that you may feel stringing this out is because I think this is something that's needed, and I'd like to work a way to helping you. I'm an old hardcore dude. I believe in protecting the code because I've watched for most of my life this city establish codes and let them go fly away, and the result is what we have today. So I'm pretty staunch on this, okay?
I understand.
So do you have any other comment that you would like to make?
No, I just wanted to make sure that, you guys knew that it was not medical, anything medical or dental. We're just trying to really help the community here in Middletown, especially the disadvantaged ones here in Middletown. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here who would like to come forward and speak in favor of this application? Seeing none, is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak against this application? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing. Discussion. Counselor, take us back to the discussion of your motion, your assistance in the motion. I'll speak for myself and then let them talk. I want a motion that will, to be considered, that will state that we overturn the decision based on the medical aspects of the thing, and to direct them to return to staff to see what might be worked out.
Sure. So then the motion could be a motion to overturn the determination of staff as in the will of the board, this is not a medical or dental clinic or office.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion, first of all, to grant the appeal, and that the determination by the zoning, would that be the development code administrator
Yes.
that made that decision, that be overturned and the matter be returned to staff?
We have a second? Motion second. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Gross?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Ambree?
Yes.
Mr. Cash?
Yes.
Mr. Wanamaker?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you all for your patience. We'll move then to old or new business, either.
I had a couple things. As I'm coming on board, and we don't have to share this because it'll be personal information, but I just need to make sure I have everybody's correct email address, that I'm sending correspondence to the right email address, as well as the right mailing address for correspondence. And then also, I just wanted to check to see, we can discuss this, is not personal information, but if everybody preferred digital and printed copies, or just digital copies of the staff packet.
I prefer printed.
I kind of prefer the digital with the hard copy here. Yeah, that's fine. I like that, but if, I mean, that's.
That'll
my
work.
personal-
Yeah, that'll work. That way you don't have to mail them.
Does that work
Digital
for
with
you?
hard copy.
Or I can
here.
still mail you one as well. Or does the printed at your seat work, Mr. Hall,
I would like to have it
prior to?
prior to the meeting,
Okay.
but I can print it out.
Well, I can print it out. I just don't want to print out, I don't know, however many pages if nobody
I don't want
needs
to
it.
either at home.
I'll tell you what, if you're gonna do one, do two.
Okay.
And I will give you an address because you're driving the mailman crazy. They're carrying an address from 8 years ago for me, and we'll put a stop.
Okay. Well, I'll get those from you guys. I just wanted to call that out because I had an issue emailing Mr. Cash, so,
Is there anything else, ma'am?
nope.
Did we have minutes from the previous meeting?
No, Ashley is helping me with them. I'm still learning your voices.
I'm sorry, I remember seeing.
No,
that
it's
email. I
totally-
apologize, yeah,
No, it's totally fine.
makes sense.
Any other comments? If not,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn. All say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned at 6:25 PM.